one second. View. Sorry, guys, this is like, okay, well, we'll just do it like this. So my name is Isabella Bablumia. For those of you that don't know me, I am currently living in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, in a lockdown as well, like most of you are. I wanted to introduce to you the Embody Wellness Institute very quickly. I decided to start this year with free webinars. And the reason I was able to do that is because I contacted all of our professionals that were supposed to be doing, paid workshops and trainings with us at the Institute presentially, and in person. And I asked them, would you be willing to give us a couple of hours of your time to help people, to support people through what's happening now? And all of them in unison said yes. And so it's really, emotional and very, very honored to have everyone on board. We're going to be having weekly webinars, one in Portuguese, one in English, so that we can reach the communities both in Brazil and around the world. And just very briefly, the Embody Institute is really about, I don't know if you can see this part, but it tries to combine kind of healthy living with finding purpose in one road that I call the pleasurable wellness. And we do that with providing you with knowledge, tools, trainings with our amazing professionals that teach everything from energy work to healthy eating to sexuality, preventive health, and everything in between. Kind of the things that we wish that we could have learned in school, but in how to take care of ourselves and how to be well with ourselves. Those are the things that we try to bring as coursework into the Embody Institute. And here's the information that I will leave it on at the end, so you can kind of follow Embody and know and find out about the coming up webinars as well, upcoming webinars as well. Have a fancy, my assistant was able to do that fancy thing. I don't even know what it's called, where you can connect to the Facebook group directly by clicking on that thing. I forget what it's called, barcode or whatever. I'm really not good. I'm learning a lot. This is a steep learning curve for me, okay, doing everything online. So, and finally, just want to show you how many amazing professionals we have lined up all the way through June for now. Hopefully we won't be locked up until then, but if we are, we have amazing professionals that will be helping us with sound healing, with boosting our immunity, reconnecting to our sexuality, with transformational breathing, with the power of mind and access, as well as dance and much, much more. So I promise it's not coronavirus. I'm just joking. Sorry, not a good joke. So I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna introduce to Sabrina and pass on the microphone to her. Sabrina, she's my, now I can call you a friend, a dear friend that I miss already a lot. She was living in Brazil. Now she's back in, not back, she's living in France now, back in Europe, but living in the south of France. Sabrina is an amazing healer, energy and meditation teacher. She has founded the Soulhouse School with innovative Soulhouse methodology that teaches everything from, being aware of your energy, meditation, which is a very different type of meditation that she does. She's going to talk about that a little bit, I think. And Sabrina teaches, and last year she taught the presence training through the Embody School as well. And some of you participated. The presence training is really, I really like that word presence. And that's something that we're going to discuss today as well. The importance of being present. When you learn meditation, I don't know if any of you have done it. It's very difficult for me at least, to sort of not think about the negative things or try to disconnect from the thoughts that come to us, right? Which is what meditation oftentimes teaches, to quieten the mind. With Sabrina, it's a completely different approach. So she actually teaches you to expand your presence and, you know, instead of getting rid of something, adding more to yourself. And as someone who studied psychology in undergrad, you know, you learn about, like, if you try to not think about the white elephant in the room, the white elephant will constantly be there because you can't not think about things. Your brain doesn't understand the particle not, right? So I think Sabrina's method is very unique in that it really tries to teach you meditation with a positive approach. So I'm going to pass it on to Sabrina Siobahn. Sabrina, it's a huge pleasure to have you here from France with us. Thank you so much for being here. Please enlighten us on how we can use this time in a better way, and how we can really cope with those emotions that we're experiencing, as well as what else we can make out of this time.
Oh, thank you for the wonderful introduction, Bella. I miss Rio too. And I can see some people here from Embody, and it's a pleasure. I loved teaching presence training at the Embody Institute. So I'll be back. If I'm invited, Bella, I'll definitely come back to Brazil. Whenever I can, I'll be back in Brazil. Yeah, I love Brazil so much. Yeah, so Bella, we're banking on that cough is just a moment. Congrats for being so brave and being on Facebook Live a lot. And thanks for putting this great series together. I know some of the other professionals, and they're great. So yeah, Bella, that was a really good introduction to meditation. I think to speak a little bit about myself, I've always been really fascinated from the beginning by soul, by creative energy, by meditation, by all things that come, in my opinion, under the umbrella of meditation, but that aren't necessarily called meditation. So for example, I played a lot of tennis when I was a child, and I felt that I learned a lot about meditation from the sport of tennis. So focusing the mind and having to be very present on the court and staying in the game, staying calm, letting the past go, staying in the present moment, the past being 2 seconds earlier, and not getting ahead of yourself. So for me, meditation is a wide, and I like to keep that sort of wide angle lens on it and say that it's a state of mind, it's a state of awareness, rather than there's no one specific way to meditate. I'm not a big fan of the approach to meditation that you have to empty your mind. In fact, I'm really sorry. Yeah, it's one of the strongest messages that got out to the world through the media, and why I'm not a fan of it is A, it's really hard, and B, I think it frightens people away from trying, people who haven't done it. So, and you're right. I think that Corona has kind of presented us with that situation where I know it's different for everyone, as you said. Some people are more busy. I think moms, there are a lot of moms who are homeschooling now who wouldn't say they've got lots of time to meditate or lots of time to think. But we've been presented with this unique situation where our whole life has changed, and a lot of the factors are now not there. So we're no longer using time in transportation to get places, and we're no longer socializing. And so there, in that sense, we have this unique collective experience of having the option of less distractions. And I see that as a really positive gift. And that's with full respect to the suffering. And obviously, economically, lots of people are really challenged. And, there's a lot of suffering and loss going on. And with all respect for that, for those obvious factors, I tend to focus on what's the positive that we can, what's the gift in it for us. So when you look at meditation, one of the principles I always start with when I work with anybody is the simple kind of what I call an energy rule, where your attention goes, your energy flows. So we live in a world where the media is ever present everywhere we look, and even more so for our kids. And now we're in a media storm with COVID, so we're kind of in a even more extreme situation of being at the center of the media storm. And so it's an excellent opportunity to become aware of, well, where my attention goes, my energy goes. So you're sitting at home, and I think one of the first things I would recommend, if you want to kind of benefit from the, let's call it the challenge of COVID, is to watch where's your attention going, and how is it making you feel. So if the media is a bit of a circus at the moment, we don't know what's true, we don't know what's not true, and the media tends to kind of channel scenarios through to us. And I think the first step that would be really empowering is to just notice, okay, so when I put my attention on that media channel or this media channel, meaning, you know, all the different channels and layers there are, how's that making me feel? And what am I contributing back? I think in terms of meditation, one of the things that's really beneficial is you learn to notice how you are using your attention, how you're using your thoughts. I developed this methodology that Bella mentioned called presence training. And that's about mastering the awareness of how am I using my attention, because wherever I send my attention, my energy will go. So presence training is based on the kind of what I call the human anatomy, which is mind, body, energy. So we are mind, we're body, and we're also energy. Some people call it spirit, some people call it soul. I'd like to use the word energy because there are less cultural tags attached, and that therefore in my world doesn't exclude anybody. So in presence training, when you accept that energy principle, which is where my attention goes, my energy flows, you can flip it and say, I want to call my energy myself. Start to notice that you don't want to send your thoughts into very worrisome places or anxious places, because when you start to call your thoughts back to yourself, your energy returns to yourself, and you start to build a sense of feeling whole. And that's a very different experience to trying to stop worrying or trying to stop thinking. If you flip it and you say to yourself, I'd just like to be present in this moment. I want to call my energy back to myself, meaning put my attention on the present moment. There are different techniques you can use. You can use breathing to do that. You can use creative visualization to do that. But if you imagine that you're really just building the architecture of self, or calling your energy back to yourself, and some people start with 2 seconds, and some people start with 10 minutes. It's very personal, and it will be different compared to which situation you're in. You will start to enjoy that sense of wholeness so much that it becomes a joy rather than a job. So I think that's one of the gifts of COVID, or the Corona situation. It is that opportunity to actually consciously disconnect from what you choose to disconnect from, in order to just give yourself the time to feel whole in the present moment. Bella mentioned that, and this is definitely true, that sometimes when we start to meditate, if we're not accustomed to it, And this can be the reason we avoid it as well, is that sometimes we encounter things that are uncomfortable. So that our worries or emotions that are not particularly joyous, like shame or pain or memories and so on and so on. And if you practice the concept that you are allowed to release from your space what you are choosing not to experience, meditation's really helpful in a way to clear your space, your aura, your energetic state, your mind, your body of these uncomfortable emotions. So if we have the courage to go through that kind of facing who we are in the present moment, yes, it may be uncomfortable, but through meditation and through breathing and through becoming in love with being present, you can actually move through that discomfort quite quickly. It might sound scary. It's easier in a group sometimes. Sometimes it's easier to be guided. And we all have our ways, but in the present moment is the opportunity to raise our vibration, to release pain. I think because
sorry to interrupt, but for those of us who are, or those, I was there about 2 years ago when I met you, where I had tried meditation, but it was always a frustrating experience for me. And I sort of tried it, and I always I just, it was always like, I tried many different techniques and none of them really worked for me. And I also didn't see the sort of the why I would do it, what the benefits of it were, right? So I always discarded it as okay, some people need to meditate, others don't. And one of the things that I've discovered with you is this ability to really discern between what is mine and what is not mine. It's really, I think it's really new for a lot of people to think that, if I am feeling fear, anxiety or whatnot, it is a real sensation that I'm feeling, but it might not be something that's part of me. And I have a full right to throw it down wherever it is. You have an amazing technique for that as well, right? How do you explain that? So because what is ours and what's not ours? I think our mind, it always makes us think that all of those things are very real, right? And we're creating this reality that's fueled by those things that we can't get rid of. Do you have sort of a recommendation for someone who's just starting, how to distinguish, right, between what's ours and what's not ours?
I didn't hear the last sentence because the internet just bumped. You said, yeah, the last two sentences.
Yeah, just what do you recommend to people who are just starting? How to distinguish between what is mine to keep, if it's an important thing for me to actually experience this fear, let's say. Maybe it is important for us to feel afraid of, or maybe it's something that we really need to say, no, it's not part of who I am. I don't really need this right now. Let's push the flash and
dump it.
Yeah, dump it.
Okay. No, thank you. So the amazing thing about meditation is when you practice meditation, like Bella was saying, you realize that there's a kind of it's a state of mind. So when we're worrying from one place in the brain, but when you practice meditation, it's a shift in consciousness that shows you that there's that gap between you and the emotion and you and the media circus, and you have, in the gap is the choice, in that gap, in that moment. And so in breathing, for example, you breathe in and you breathe out, but there's even a gap between your exhalation and the next inhalation that we don't even think about, but actually it can be a really big space. There are a lot of abstract ways of understanding that gap between you and what you're feeling. So I think what's amazing is for me to know when I'm for me to go out in public and to understand, now I'm really affected by anger or X emotion, whatever it is. What's really helpful is to have the reference of the good feeling, the reference of feeling whole in the moment. So if you're a person who feels really whole when they're cooking an amazing dinner, or when you're laughing with your friends, you can sort of create a hologram, a snapshot in your physiology of that's the feeling of when I feel good. That's the feeling of when I feel whole. Or you can practice a simple meditation for yourself at home, or if you do yoga, it could be yoga or dance, but you could practice the meditation of feeling your entire body, feeling the moment, and feeling good. And obviously you choose the right and easiest situation to experience that in, so that when you get into that other situation where suddenly I'm feeling fragmented, I'm feeling a little ungrounded, I'm feeling a little wobbly, I've lost my self-confidence a little bit, my energy level dropped, you have the awareness of, wait a second, something's a bit off here. I can just slow down a little and maybe refer back to that sensation of feeling whole. So if you refer back to, how did I feel when I was feeling so great doing my gardening, or making that dinner, or dancing that day, to have that reference is very important. And I want to say that because our society there's a kind of line of thinking of hard work is so great, and being busy makes you really important, and having the career that makes you fly really fast all the time, that's your identity. But we're not living in a time where just being is praised. So we have to learn to value our own presence, our own happiness as a valuable thing in itself. I think that positive approach helps you in the moment when you're kind of a little whacked off your course, which happens to everybody. That's life.
And Sabrina, you mentioned, when you are feeling that frustration or fear, and when you try to put yourself into a different state of mind by remembering, let's say, whatnot. A lot of us grew up being told that that's daydreaming, that's like imagination, that's not real. What do you have to say about that? I know you have a lot to say about that.
You have a limited time. I'll try to be. Well, no, I do have a lot to say about that, because I really believe, I believe that everybody has something to offer with it by their presence, and children serve them too much. They know exactly what makes them happy, and they know what they want to express, and they know how to play, and so on. So I think cultivating time is another way of meditation. Cultivating time, travel back to your childhood, and just remembering, if you can, remembering what made you happy, or what made you spark, what was your passion. I think everything is energy. That's my firm faith and my firm belief. So, and I also believe that, as you were saying about the word all alone and all one, and this is something the most meditation practices try to communicate, is that we are individuals, but it's a paradox because we're also part of a great collective. And that's the other amazing teaching we're getting from the corona era, is that right now we have this unique situation where it's not those over there that are poor and we all have different problems, and we have a different problem in this world, another problem in that world. Right now we all have the same issue. And so we are realizing, right, so okay, we're all human beings going through the same thing. So, and I think that's amazing, because what's one of the teachings in meditation that's a big challenge to learn is that you are an individual, but you have an influence on the collective. And so going back to what you were saying, which is, we're told that, you referenced some of the most joyful things are not deemed serious enough to, when you grow up, you have to kind of leave a lot of that behind you. I am a big opponent to that thinking, because, for example, if you are vibrationally in a state of well-being, or happiness, that's the energy of happiness. You're emitting the emotion and the energy of happiness. And that's not something that you have to go and tell people. If I walk into the room and you're very happy, I'm going to sense that. Everyone's going to sense that. It's a vibrational communication. And, you know, if you just look at it in those terms, when you are bringing yourself into a healthy vibration, a positive vibration, you're now participating on a collective level. It's a wavelength that you're sending out, a frequency that you're sending out, that contributes to the collective's health and happiness also. So if you can't value your own happiness for yourself, you know, understand that you are an influencer. We all are influencing our environment, and I think that is an amazing awakening. I hope that's coming with Corona, that we have to limit our physical mobility in order to contribute to the collective whole. I know you have other opinions about that, Bill. But in theory, you know, I'm doing my part, you're doing your part. We're all on lockdown. We're on week 3. Italy's on week 6, I think. It's
so in practical terms, you know, we're sitting at home, and sometimes some of us are alone, some of us are surrounded with crazy family members jumping up and down. And what do you suggest in terms of, you know, like a daily routine for someone that's just starting and, you know, dealing with all of those things together with all the, you know, fear or whatever the emotions are that they are trying to, you know, and that's the thing, like, we don't want to suppress these emotions, right? That's not the idea. The idea is we recognize them and then say, well, take that distance that you mentioned and say, let's not hang on to that emotion because it's not me. It's not doing me well. So what's maybe like some practical,
yeah. So like in terms of motivating, getting the motivation to do some self-healing meditation, I'd like to refer back to where I send my attention, my energy goes. So if I am worrying, I'm actually energizing the thing I'm worrying about. So there's a really practical reason to disconnect from the negative thinking and anxiety. Because we know today that our bodies, our cells, are listening to our thoughts. That stress causes illness, and stress causes a lowered immune system, and so on. We know that. So there's a really good reason to develop, you could say, the kind of the self-love and the kind of principle to stay in a positive range of thinking. Which may sound obvious, but it's amazing if you actually listen to the millions of thoughts that go through your head, how many of them can be worrying about things that have not happened yet. So practically speaking, I would recommend carving out time every day, and not as a job, but in a way that makes you feel comfortable. Doing something you love, I'd say that would be my first recommendation, just to carve out time to do things that put you in a positive frame of mind, so that the energy flow in your body and your mind and your heart is staying in the positive range of vibration. Also, what brings you joy and what connects you with people and what validates you. So speaking to people where it's a mutually validating conversation is really important. And again, focusing on the positive. Because as a collective, we want to energize building a good future. We don't want to energize the fear. So the other thing I would recommend is, in terms of meditation, if you've never meditated before, a really, really cool and easy thing to do is to lie comfortably and to send your attention around your body with your breath. So breathing to your toe on the right side, breathing and going through the toes, going through the foot, putting your mind in that part of your body and breathing to the foot, going through with awareness, noticing how all the muscles feel, if there's tension, breathing and helping that muscle to relax. And it's an amazing journey going through your own body. You go up through the leg, you go up through the torso. You will discover emotions stored in each place. And also remembering to finish the whole body. That calls your energy back, but it also helps your brain to kind of remap who you are and where you are in time and space. And where you are in time and space is right there on the floor. You're not in the place where your thoughts are. You're right there on the floor with your breathing in time and space. And that is an amazing way to shift the nervous system into a state of rest and regeneration.
I just want to really second that, because that's also a really strong embody principle that we teach at Embody. You know, obviously the word embody is about the body, right? And sometimes people really neglect their body in trying to, you know, meditate or stay healthy. It's either you see the body as the aesthetic thing, right? Or you kind of discard the body as unnecessary because you're looking for your spiritual meaning or for your purpose in life. But I think you're one of the few people that really that help us reconnect those two things, right? So a lot of times we go through life, and this is, for me, it's also a great opportunity. We go through life without even knowing what our body is telling us, right? We sort of disconnect from our body language, and we don't know if we're hurting or if we're something is, you know, pain. We sort of, most of us understand pain really well, but we don't really reconnect to all the other senses that we have. And there are like more than 20 something senses that we have, depending on how you define them. And I think like that going through your body seems so simple, but it's really a practice that very few of us do. And it's so important for us to reconnect to the body and see, what is it telling us? You know, like after you make it a practice, it'll start telling you some really amazing things. And actually, you know, and we will have some more webinars on boosting your immunity. And the body is the best mechanism that will keep telling you what you need. You know, if you are fighting some kind of an infection, be it, you know, whatever we're most scared of right now or anything else, the best thing you can do during those days is really take a rest, you know, just like lay down and take a nap. And thank God we are able to do that these days, right? Or maybe you'll feel like you need more water, or maybe you'll need, you know, you'll feel like you need to take some, you know, fresh air. To open the window a little when you can go on a walk, at least like open the windows more. Or you need, on the contrary, you need to like work out and kick some pillows. You know, I'm sorry to enter important messages that that also Corona is sending us now. Like, let's reconnect with what we have. You know, our reality is our body too. We are so disconnected from it. We're constantly like somewhere over there, but we're not here. So just to second that, I really think it's one of the key things. Yeah,
it's absolutely key. And I think it's interesting because we already live in a world where our attention's called away from ourselves and our bodies. We're kind of almost in a cyber world in terms of, you know, Facebook and all the social media that we are. There are obviously wonderful aspects to that kind of global connection, but again, you're called out of your body, you know, onto a screen, and your energy is going into that screen and into that cyber world. And as Bella was saying, our bodies are amazing. And you know, the body, that's why I called my school the Soulhouse School, because it's, and Bella's company is called Embody, and the Soulhouse kind of ethos is embody, you know, embody yourself, bring your energy into your cells, into the house of your soul. And as Bella was saying, the body, there are several levels of intelligence that are in the body. And you know, it's cultural too. In different cultures, in some cultures, the intellect is really highly regarded. In other cultures, you know, emotional intelligence has a good ranking. But you know, there are different kind of social norms. But if we tune into our bodies, we have the body's intelligence in terms of self-healing and regeneration of cells and recalibration, remapping, reconstructing itself. It's a really incredible thing. It's just that we're not taught to trust that. And then there's the heart's intelligence, which is amazing. It's your inner compass. And then there's a level of your imagination and your mind, and how are you using those things. And science is recognizing now that imagination is powerful. If you worry, your body gets sick. So as Bella was saying, I'm about uniting. What are we doing with the imagination? What are we doing with our thoughts? And are we tuning in to the body? And Bella, you mentioned in body and nutrition and so on. And we really want to validate, because there's there's a lot of conversation about bad health at the moment and dying and suffering. Whereas I want to just validate that we have amazing bodies who can regenerate themselves and self-heal also. And I'd much rather have the conversation about, let's focus on that. Let's, as a collective, focus on the fact that we are amazing. We are energetic. We can heal when we tune in to the body. So you asked about a simple technique, and that's a good summary. So focus on your body, your amazing heart's energy, your body.
Right. It's not like there's I feel like right now we're being told, there's the enemy outside and you have to stay away from it. And that's the only way that you're able to be safe. And I think it's really undermining the really powerful tools that we have internally to regenerate our body and to have a strong immunity, to make sure that we are endowed with all these incredible tools, by design, right? And by and by choice. We can invest our time in creating the body that we want, the energy that we want, and really equipping ourselves with the tools that are going to keep us healthy. Yes, it's extremely important, especially in these days, to be aware and to stay away from the virus, washing our hands, and we all know that. But it is also important not to invalidate our powerful tool that we have, which is our body and our energy. So I really appreciate that, Sabrina. And just going back to was that the two things was there something else that I interrupted? There was doing something that you love, the breathing, well, body, and then kind of stuff that the body.
I love to repeat the first one, which is do what you love and really value it, and don't underestimate the value of your positive energy, your love and your support for others, all the things that make you feel connected to source or to other human beings. Whether, for me, creativity really brings me into connection with myself and with others and with source. What's your thing? Are you a musician? Share your voice. Are you a writer? Use the time to write, because even if your written work is not getting out yet, you're in that state of presence when you write. And just your presence is is now, part of this big collective that we're in, that is a complete antithesis of death and suffering. It's the opposite. It's life. It's life being embodied. So I think following your joy would be an amazing thing to do. Bella, while you were talking just now, I was thinking about something that I was contemplating today. Went for a walk as usual, and some of you have heard me say this a million times. I am so happy about seeing how the more quiet human beings get, the more beautiful nature is getting. The more the trees' energy is really, you can feel it. The birds are coming in. Our sea is clearer and clearer. And it's so much easier to feel the energy of nature in the air, because we have to be more quiet. And to me, that is such it's such an amazing, it's like a sacred experience that when did we last get to feel the world in that state? And we're a part of that natural world. We get a lot of our energy from that world. So that is something not to be missed. It's much more fun to feel that bird landing on your windowsill than sit worrying about whatever it is we worry about. It's incredible. It gives you a lot of energy.
Noticing the magic, right? That nature, and it has been really magical. I don't know about other places in the world, but in Rio, it's, you know, it is already magical.
Yeah, Rio
it's just been, you know, like you said in your post, it seems like by day nature is getting clean, you know, cleaning itself from all the pollution that we've put in it. So
yeah, it's a noise. It's like the thoughts that keep us outside ourselves. That like the same negative thinking. But as a collective, we did the same thing. You know, the reason the colors are more beautiful is because all the pollution we've made is clearing. So I wonder what's going to happen. How are people? I know there's the economic conundrum to solve, and that's definitely important. But I'm thinking, how are people going to feel? You know, as we progress into this, as they begin to feel that good energy, how are people going to feel about losing it again, if that's what's going to happen? So I think maybe some big changes might be ahead. I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully changes that will make us realize that we have, you know, much more playing for us, and that we have a lot more influence in creating not only the world internally, but externally as well, right? Feeling the responsibility and the empowerment to take care of ourselves, and in that also take care of our, you know, the smaller circles, our family and our societies and our world. So I think it's all part of the same thing. I know it's like mixing it all together, but I see it as kind of one line of thinking. You know, when you are as, you know, positive about and empowered about what you can do for yourself, then you can really see that your actions influence everything else, you know, your societies and the world. And Sabrina, I know we won't have time here. We're coming to the end of the hour already. We won't have time for you to show us the actual guided meditations that are so amazing and so healing. But you graciously offered to share one of your meditations, one of your guided meditations with us, right? I can make it available to the people that are participating here?
Yes.
Okay. That would be nice. I guess, guys, I highly recommend the meditation that Sabrina has, you know, graciously prepared for us and that is ready to share. Because not only do these meditations allow us to really disconnect from all that noise and, you know, anxiety that we're feeling and just like sleep like a baby, that's for sure. But it, you know, if you do it often enough, it really does create a completely different world internally. You feel like a different person, and you feel like you're much more empowered to make the world a better place to live. So highly recommend it. And one other thing, Sabrina is going to be doing a free webinar on April 20th, right? Where she's going to be talking about her presence training, which is a 7-week, I think, right? Or seven class. You can tell us about it. If you guys are interested, we will, I will at the end of it show you a group that you can join, or you can send me your email if that's easier, so we can share with you both the meditation as well as the presence training in case you're interested in doing it with Sabrina. But tell us very quickly about the presence training that you're going to be offering.
Right, so you're all welcome. I'm going to be hosting a free webinar talking about presence training, as Bella said, on the 20th. And I'll be introducing the training, which is 7 weeks, 7 workshops, where you learn about how through the Soulhouse method of meditation, you can kind of unite and align your mind, body, and your energy, and connect to your heart's wisdom and learn how to be present. We call it building the architecture of your presence, you know, how to stay grounded and have a strong sense of self. But I'll be talking more about that in the webinar, so you can feel free to sign up. It's on the front page the same front page that Bella will give to you that has the free meditation. There's a sign up link there. And yeah, I'd be happy to welcome you to the webinar.
So Sabrina, thank you very much. I'm going to open the floor up for just a couple of questions. You can either message us or unmute yourself. You just have like a microphone there, whoever is using Zoom for the first time, and ask us a question. And don't forget to leave either your email or join us in the group that I will show you at the end of the screen. So please. Any questions, guys? You can ask questions on Facebook as well. I'm looking at both. If not, I'm gonna here while we're waiting.
Look at
amazing information. Thank you so much. Thank you for participating, Thelma.
Thank you, Thelma. So the floor is open if anybody has any questions, and if I didn't make sense at one stage, just re-ask.
So while we're waiting to see if there are any questions, here's the group that you can join. If you go through, Embody Wellness, there's a group that you can join where I'll be sharing all this free stuff, or you can just send me an email if that's easier. Okay, that's one thing. And then I'm going to share with you, so the website that where Sabrina will be hosting her presence training. Sabrina, .com. Here we go. I just sent it in the chat. I think if you guys don't have, oh, hold on, let me just see. Prioritize positivity. Yes, I don't know who that is, but yes, that was the key message as well. That's you, for sure. Well, Sabrina, thank you very much again for joining us from France. I know it's really late there already.
Yeah, okay. I'm a night owl.
we really need these tools and this wisdom. The more we can get our hands on this stuff, the better, because right now is kind of a really pivotal time for all of us to use this time properly or fall into that dark energy of fear and anxiety that's pulling us there. We can't allow that to happen, even though of course it's normal to feel that a little bit, but we do have tools to welcome positivity and to create some, a different sensations, different feelings, and a different sense of self, right? As we practice meditation, as we practice mindfulness, and whatever that you prefer to practice. But like Sabrina said, I also encourage you to reconnect to your bodies, to reconnect to the language that's constantly trying to tell us what, trying to talk to us, but we don't listen to it. And that's part of kind of the bigger nature, right, that surrounds us. So listen to the birds, listen to yourself, listen to your body, breathe more often, and join us for the next webinars. Next week, we're going to be having Andrea Santiago with us, who's going to be doing a really healing sound healing session with us. We've done 2 workshops with her last, in person, and I'm sure it'll be amazing as well live. So thank you guys again. Sabrina, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It was amazing. Join us next week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bella. It was a pleasure. And thanks everybody for listening and connecting.
Thank you, Sabrina. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you, Joanna.
Yes, she is.
Nice to see everybody.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you, Sabrina. Guys, all have a nice day.
You too.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you. Great to see your faces and hear your voices. Thank you.
Yeah,
Nice
we
to see you,
miss you.
Pippa.
I feel like
Thank you, Bella. Bella's super.
Thank you,
Andrea, so good to see you too.
Yes, you too.
That's one of the reasons I really like these webinars too. Aside from learning, we're reconnecting, right? It's something
Yes.
that's really like missing in my personal life, at least, for sure. So
It brings me joy. I need more of that. Brings me joy.
We all do. Yes. Beijos.
Baking. I forgot to say
Dave,
Thank
cookies
you.
really helps as well.
yeah, for sure.
Like cookies, and more cookies.
And cakes.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bella.